What's up, guys? Chris M. Walker from Superstar SEO and Legiit here. Today we're going to be talking about Client SEO. That's where you offer SEO to local or even national businesses, and they are your clients. So Client SEO, and the ugly side of Client SEO that no one really talks about, and why it's one of the most difficult and non-sustainable ways to make a living in SEO and digital marketing, and then what some alternatives are. So let's dive into that presentation and get started. Okay, guys, so now what we're going to talk about is the ugly side of Client SEO that no one really talks about. So, I don't know, your mileage may vary, but I think I'm a pretty positive guy. So we're going to talk about, before we get into that, the upsides of Client SEO. And some of those are you can make money really, really quickly, a lot of money really fast. You're always one phone call, one email, one piece of content, one LinkedIn message away from having, a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month client. So this is probably the quickest way to make a lot of money quickly. So that's one upside to it. So that's the biggest upside to it. Another one is that you get the gratification of helping other businesses grow and thrive and help them take care of their families or whatever else it is that they're doing. So for me, that's a very important thing in all of my businesses, is that I get to help, whether it's people, whether it's businesses or whatever. But this one, you are working directly with them to help them grow in their life. And furthering that, you get to meet some really great people. I have a client that I've been with for 5 years. I have another one that I've been with for a couple years. I have several that have been over 2 years, as a matter of fact. And I know them really well. Like, I can talk to them about what's going on in their life and just see them kind of progress and grow and do well. And that's very important to me. Maybe it's not for you, but I think it is for most people. And it's just a great side of this business, that you get to meet some wonderful people and get to help them and be a part of their life. So, and then the other thing is you have a quote unquote real business that your mom will be proud of. So what I mean by that is some of the other models that we're going to talk about in this video they're all real businesses, but they aren't necessarily the traditional type of business where you can go into an office, work with clients, have employees, have staff, have team, and have a sign with your name on it and all those things. That's a very important psychological thing to some people, and it's what a lot of people envision about a business. Oh, this is the number one way in SEO that you can achieve that. It's not the only way, but it's the number one way where you can have a quote unquote real business that, you can have your mom say he owns a blank. So those are kind of the biggest upsides in my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what other ones may or may not be, what I forgot, whatever. But I wanted to start off with that because I think I'm a pretty positive guy again. So I didn't want to start with this is doom and gloom and ugly and quit this. So having said all that, let's dive into the ugly side of Client SEO. The first one is the big one, and it's what I hate the most about it, and it's why it's a decreasingly small portion of my business. And that's because SEO, if you're honest with people that you're talking to, is just a terrible offer. It really is. Because if you are honest with the people that you talk to, that you're trying to sell SEO to sell monthly recurring SEO or whatever to, you are making a terrible offer. What I mean by that is if you were to say, I might be able to get you ranked in Google in 6 months if you pay me $25,000 to $5,000 a month. If I don't, it's not my fault because I don't own Google. And even if I do get you there, then it's not my fault if you don't make any ROI on it and you don't get any traffic from it because I got you there at least. So sign here. If we were being perfectly honest, now, of course, you would never actually say that, but that's the truth, right? More or less. Everybody's process is a little different, but that's at the core. That's kind of how Client SEO works. And if you were being honest, that's what it is. So it's a terrible offer. What you need to do is change your angle on it and get to know the person and their needs, both personally and professionally, and then figure out what kind of pain they're in, whether it's they need more sales to pay off their mortgage or so they can retire, so they can take a trip, whatever it may be. Find that and then tell them that you have the solution to solve that and get them out of that pain state into that. But most SEOs don't sell that way. Most SEOs are terrible salespeople. And part of that is magnified, I should say, by the fact that it's a terrible offer to begin with. So The fact that we have poor salespeople making a terrible offer gives the entire industry a bad reputation. So that's kind of the ugly side, in my opinion, the big one. And what motivated me to make this video in the first place is that SEO is just a terrible offer, and that we have amateur salespeople selling a bad offer. We have an industry with a bad reputation. So that's kind of the big one and kind of the impetus of this entire video. The next one is you have lots of bosses, right? A lot of people get into this line of work because they want to work for themselves, be an entrepreneur, a business owner, whatever. But what ends up happening when you get a lot of clients is you have, instead of one boss, you have 20 or 50 or however 100, however many clients you end up taking on. You end up having a lot of bosses who expect results if you want to keep getting paid. So if you get into this to not have to answer to anyone, either you don't answer to them in the same way that you would to a boss, but you don't have the freedom that some of the other models we're going to talk about provide you. So you are trading one boss for many, in my opinion. The next is you have to keep filling your bucket, right? You can't just, once you get 4 or 5 clients that pay you enough for you to make a nice living off of, you can't just stop. You can't just stop and focus on keeping them happy, which is what you should be able to do with a good business. But you have to keep adding more and more and growing. And it becomes a thing where you have to turn it into an agency as opposed to a one-man gang type of agency, because you got to focus on sales and you can't necessarily focus on fulfillment. So, I mean, you can outsource a lot of it, and you should use Legiit and things like that to outsource it, but your job becomes being a salesperson, and you may not have gotten into that in just to be sales. You may have gotten into it because you like doing SEO. So client SEO requires you to become a salesperson nonstop. The last one is it's not an asset you can sell usually. And I say usually because I know that, what's his name? Ryan Stewart has sold a couple SEO agencies. I know a couple other folks. It can be done, but it's not common for you to build a business or an asset that you can then do exit and sell to someone else. And the reason for that is because you aren't building a thing. You're using a skill to provide value. If you stop that skill, there's no value there. So the problem is you're not building up an entity of any kind that you can hand off, because the skill is most likely you or the team that you put together. Now, again, it can be done, but it's not common. I only know of a handful of times it's done successfully and at a big exit. And it's so generic that there's not going to be a buyer's market for it either. So you're not building up something that you can exit in the long term. So if your plan is to retire at 60 or whatever, you're going to have to save money as opposed to being able to sell out. So that's another one. So what are some alternatives if you want to make money online with SEO? And the main one is marketplace freelancing. This is what changed my entire life. I've grown that just from the small services I began with into larger services, recurring services, clients, training, my own platform, software, all consulting, all sorts of other things, all started from marketplace freelancing. And if I wanted to make just a living, and that was my only goal, I could make a great living doing marketplace freelancing. I still sell heavily on my own site, and before that I conquered another marketplace, and I had like my own intermediate site in between. I did really, really well on all of those, and I know other people, Barry Page, other people that have done very, very well. And I get to see the numbers on Legiit, and I know lots of people are making full-time livings doing it. So that's the number one alternative and the easiest and best and most flexible way of making money online. So go sign up to Legiit.com today and start making yourself some money. The next one is affiliate marketing. This is where you use either SEO or paid traffic or social media to get people to buy other people's offers, and you get a commission. You're basically like a sales and marketing person for somebody else's product. This requires a lot of SEO and it takes a lot of patience, but it's a nice, you get to build an asset, and it's a nice alternative. I enjoy it, but it does take a long time, and you have to have some skill to do it. Info marketing is a great one in the Build a Business series we're doing that I'm going to be continuing in the next few days. We are probably going to use an info product. I haven't 100% decided, but we're going to sell, online something where you sell information, whether it's how to, make a vegan pizza or vegan recipes, whether it's marketing, whatever it is. Everybody has a skill that they can put together to sell. So that's another great one. And it's very, very profitable because it doesn't cost very much to make a training, so there's that. E-commerce is pretty straightforward. You throw up a website on Shopify or WooCommerce or whatever platform you prefer, and you just use different traffic sources, whether it's SEO, whether it's paid ads or whatever, to get people to it to buy your stuff, and you make a commission. That's pretty straightforward. You can also do Amazon FBA and things like that. And the last one is blogging and YouTubing. That's a great way to grow all the others on this list, and it can be very, very profitable all on its own, although the more of it I do, the more of a challenge I realize it is. So it is a lot of work, but it's very gratifying work. And if you really put your nose to the grindstone and put in the work, it can be a very industry as well. So that's kind of what we got. We covered the upsides of client SEO, making more money, helping businesses grow and thrive, meeting great people, and having a quote unquote real business. The ugly or downsides is that SEO is just a terrible offer where you have a lot of bosses. It requires a lot more sales than fulfillment, and it's not usually an asset that you can sell afterwards. And then the alternatives, the number one awesome, most amazing way to build an online business is marketplace freelancing on Legiit.com. And then you have affiliate marketing, info marketing, e-commerce, blogging, and YouTube. And I do have some resources for you. You can check out Legiit.com to either get more stuff done or to start making that side hustle or full-time income. If you want to learn more about SEO, client SEO, the actual fulfillment of SEO, and everything else SEO, check out learnhowtorank.com. Subscribe to my channel if you don't mind, please. If you like videos like this at chrismwalker.tv, or just clicking the subscribe button below this. And if you want some daily business insight for completely free, join profitacademydaily.com. We'll have another video tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon.